Chapter 1. The Power of Listening. How it unlocks effective communication. When most people think of communication, they think about speaking, about finding the right words, delivering the perfect message, and impressing the audience. But the truth is, the most powerful form of communication isn't speaking, it's listening. Listening isn't just hearing words, it's understanding the deeper meaning, recognizing emotions, and being fully present in the conversation. When you listen with intent, when you engage with your mind, body, and heart, you unlock a level of communication most people miss. This simple skill can completely transform the way you connect with others. And yet, most of us don't listen. We wait for our turn to talk. We focus more on forming our response than truly understanding the speaker. We're distracted by our own thoughts, by our phones, by our surroundings. In doing so, we miss half of the conversation, and more importantly, we miss the chance to build a real connection. True listening requires you to be still, to silence your own mind, and allow the other person to speak, without judgment, without interruption, without anticipation. When you do this, something extraordinary happens. You begin to understand more deeply. You start to hear the nuances in their words, the emotion behind the message, the unspoken cues. And when you understand someone on this level, you can respond in a way that speaks directly to them. You don't just offer solutions or opinions, you offer empathy, insight, and connection. That's how you become a communicator people want to listen to. This doesn't just apply to casual conversations. Listening is the foundation of effective leadership, conflict resolution, and negotiation. It's the difference between being heard and being understood. And if you want to take your communication skills to the next level, you must first master the art of listening. It's simple, yet profoundly impactful. The next time you find yourself in a conversation, pause and truly listen. Focus on the speaker's words, tone, and body language. Tune into their emotions, their struggles, and their desires. Show them that they matter by giving them your full attention. The result: you will become not only a better communicator, but also a better human being, someone who can connect with others on a deeper, more meaningful level. Chapter 2. The Art of Body Language. Saying more without words. Communication is more than just what you say. In fact, studies show that only about 7% of communication comes from the words we speak. The rest? It comes from our tone, our gestures, and most importantly, our body language. You might not realize it, but your body is always talking. From the way you stand, to the way you move your hands, to the expressions on your face, everything you do sends a message. And if you aren't aware of it, you could be saying things you didn't mean to say. Your body language can either reinforce your words, or it can completely contradict them. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who said one thing, but their body language said something entirely different? Maybe they told you they were excited to see you, but their crossed arms and lack of eye contact told a different story. Or maybe they said they were open to hearing your opinion, but their rigid posture said, "I'm not listening." The truth is, your body is a more honest communicator than your words ever could be, and if you want to master communication, you need to learn how to use it to your advantage. One of the most important aspects of body language is posture. How you carry yourself speaks volumes about your confidence, your mood, and even your intentions. When you stand tall, shoulders back, and head high, you project confidence and openness. But when you slouch or cross your arms, you signal to others that you're closed off, uncertain, or even defensive. The simple act of standing tall can instantly make you more approachable, and it can help you convey trust and authority. Gestures also play a critical role in communication. When you use your hands to emphasize a point or express emotion, you're bringing your words to life. But be careful, overuse of gestures can be distracting, while too few can make you appear stiff or disconnected. Find a balance that feels natural for you, and use your gestures to support your message, not overpower it. Then there's the face, the most expressive part of the body. A smile can convey warmth and approachability, while a frown can indicate disapproval or confusion. Your facial expressions are often the first thing someone notices, and they set the tone for the entire conversation. The key is to be aware of what your face is saying, especially when you're speaking to someone whose emotional state may be different from your own. And finally, there's the power of eye contact. In many cultures, avoiding eye contact can be seen as a sign of dishonesty or disinterest. On the other hand, too much eye contact can feel aggressive or intimidating. The trick is to strike a balance enough to show you're engaged and present, but not so much that it becomes uncomfortable. Eye contact builds trust and strengthens your connection with others. Mastering body language doesn't happen overnight, but with practice, you'll begin to naturally incorporate it into your communication. Start by becoming more mindful of your posture and gestures in everyday conversations. Pay attention to how people respond to you and adjust your body language to make them feel more comfortable. Over time, you'll notice how your ability to communicate effectively improves, not just in your words, but in the silent messages you send with your body. The best communicators don't just speak well, they move, gesture, and express themselves in ways that match the message they want to convey. When you learn to control your body language, you unlock a new level of influence. You become more persuasive, more empathetic, and more connected to the people around you. Chapter 3: Mastering the Pause. The Power of Silence in Communication. In a world where everyone seems to be speaking over one another, there's a quiet power in the pause. In fact, one of the most effective communication tools you can use is the ability to not speak at all. Sounds simple, but the art of silence is often overlooked. The pause gives you control. It allows you to collect your thoughts, to listen more intently, and to gauge the reaction of the person you're speaking with. A pause can signal that you're reflecting on the conversation, or it can invite the other person to speak. It is, quite literally, a space in time where you take command of the flow of communication. Many people fear silence. They think it's awkward or uncomfortable, or that it will make them seem unsure. But in reality, silence is powerful. When used correctly, it can add weight to your words, demonstrate confidence, and even improve the quality of the conversation. Think about a time when someone paused before responding to you. Did you feel like they were considering your words carefully? Did you feel heard and respected? A well-timed pause can make a conversation feel more intentional, making the person you're speaking with feel like what they're saying truly matters. It shows that you're not just speaking to fill the air, you're speaking to connect, to understand, and to respond thoughtfully. One of the best ways to harness the power of the pause is by using it strategically during conversations. Don't feel the need to rush into your next point or finish someone else's sentence. Let the moment hang for a second longer. Ask a question, then allow them the space to think and respond. You don't have to answer right away. A simple, thoughtful pause can elevate the quality of your conversation, allowing it to breathe and flow more naturally. Pausing also gives you time to think about what you're going to say next. Instead of blurting out your next point, take a moment to organize your thoughts. This can help you avoid saying something you might regret or responding in a way that's more emotional than rational. By taking a moment to pause, you make sure that your response is well considered, clear, and purposeful. In the same vein, the pause allows you to listen better. When you don't rush to fill the silence, you give the other person time to speak their mind more fully. Many of us are quick to jump in and provide solutions, but sometimes the best way to truly communicate is simply to allow someone to express themselves without interruption. Let them take their time. This builds trust, showing that you value their input and that you're not trying to dominate the conversation. One of the most powerful ways to use pauses is in negotiations or difficult conversations. When someone is making a point that you disagree with, instead of immediately rebutting, take a breath. Let the silence stretch a bit. This gives you time to gather your thoughts, maintain your composure, and decide how you want to respond. It also has the psychological effect of creating tension. When there's silence after a statement, it often makes the other person feel the need to fill it. This can lead to them revealing more than they intended or softening their position. Pausing also works wonders in storytelling. The dramatic pause at the right moment can add suspense and draw people in. It makes them lean in, waiting for the next word, the next revelation. It's an essential technique that great communicators use to captivate their audience. Whether you're speaking one-on-one or addressing a crowd, a well-placed pause can elevate the emotional impact of your message. And finally, silence is a tool for showing respect. It shows that you're fully present in the conversation and that you respect the other person's voice. It demonstrates that the conversation is important enough to allow space for reflection and understanding. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, remember the power of the pause. Use it to gather your thoughts, to listen more carefully, and to let the other person feel heard. By embracing silence, you elevate the quality of your communication and strengthen the connection you have with those around you. Chapter 4. The Power of Empathy, Connecting Beyond Words. Effective communication is not just about the words you say, but how you make the other person feel. One of the most profound ways to connect with others is through empathy. Empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. It's more than just hearing what someone says, it's feeling what they feel and connecting with them on a deeper level. When you truly listen with empathy, you're not just absorbing words, you're feeling the emotions behind them. You're stepping into the other person's shoes, seeing the world through their eyes, and acknowledging their experience. This creates a bridge between you and them, a space where understanding flourishes and where communication becomes truly effective. Empathy is the cornerstone of any meaningful conversation. It builds trust, it builds rapport, it fosters understanding, and most importantly, it shows the other person that they matter, that their thoughts, feelings, and experiences are valid and worthy of your attention. A key part of empathy is active listening. When you listen actively, you're not just waiting for your turn to speak. You're fully present in the moment, giving your complete attention to the other person. You acknowledge their emotions, not just their words. You read between the lines. You notice their tone, their body language, and the unsaid things. This doesn't mean you have to agree with everything they say. Empathy isn't about taking sides or offering solutions right away. It's about accepting their emotions and letting them know you understand what they're going through. It's about creating a space where they feel safe enough to express themselves without fear of judgment or dismissal. Empathy also requires patience. Sometimes people need time to fully express what they're feeling, and they might not have the perfect words for it. But when you give them that time and space, you allow them to open up fully, and in turn, you open up a deeper level of communication. In these moments, you're not just conversing, you're connecting. An empathetic communicator doesn't rush to offer solutions. They listen, reflect, and ask thoughtful questions. They allow the other person to process their emotions. Often, all someone needs is a compassionate listener who doesn't interrupt, who doesn't offer advice too soon, but who simply acknowledges their feelings. Think about a time when someone truly empathized with you. Perhaps you were going through a tough time, and instead of brushing you off or offering quick fixes, they simply listened. How did that make you feel? Seen, heard, valued? Now think about how you can do the same for others. The next time you have a conversation, take a moment to listen. Really listen. Put yourself in the other person's shoes and try to understand where they're coming from. Don't just focus on your response, focus on their emotions. Show them that you care, that you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but that you genuinely want to connect with them on a human level. Empathy transforms ordinary communication into powerful communication. It creates an emotional bond that can transcend words. It brings down walls, removes misunderstandings, and fosters a sense of mutual respect and trust. And when you master the art of empathetic communication, you'll find that you can connect with people on a level you never thought possible, whether in personal relationships, professional environments, or any interaction you encounter. So when you speak, speak with empathy. When you listen, listen with empathy. It's the key to building stronger, more meaningful relationships, and becoming the kind of communicator who leaves a lasting impact. Chapter 5. The Art of Persuasion. How to influence without manipulation. Persuasion is one of the most powerful communication tools you can master. It's the ability to change someone's thoughts, actions, or decisions without force. It's not about manipulation, it's about guiding them toward a choice that benefits both you and them. When used correctly, persuasion doesn't feel like pressure. It feels like a natural, mutually beneficial conversation. At its core, persuasion is about trust. If people trust you, they're more likely to listen to what you have to say. The foundation of trust in communication is built over time, through honesty, empathy, and consistency. If you've shown someone that you understand their perspective, that you respect their feelings, and that you have their best interests at heart, they're much more likely to be persuaded by your words. One of the most effective tools in persuasion is the principle of reciprocity. This principle suggests that people are more likely to say yes to someone who has given them something first. It doesn't have to be a physical gift. It could be as simple as giving your time, offering a compliment, or showing someone kindness. When you give first, people feel compelled to return the favor, and this builds a foundation for influence. Another key element of persuasion is framing. The way you present information significantly impacts how people receive it. If you can frame a situation in a way that highlights the benefits to them, they'll be more likely to take the action you want. For example, instead of saying, "You need to buy this product because it's the best on the market," try framing it as, "This product will save you time and help you achieve your goals faster." The latter speaks directly to the person's needs and desires, making it more persuasive. One of the most persuasive traits in communication is confidence. People are drawn to confidence because it signals certainty and conviction. If you speak with clarity and confidence, others are more likely to believe in what you're saying and trust your judgment. However, it's important to balance confidence with humility. Overconfidence can come off as arrogance, while genuine confidence invites trust and respect. Active listening also plays a huge role in persuasion. The more you listen, the more you can understand the other person's desires, objections, and concerns. This allows you to tailor your message to meet their needs. Persuasion isn't about forcing your opinion on others. It's about listening carefully and then framing your message in a way that resonates with them. When you genuinely understand their point of view, you can guide them toward your desired outcome without making them feel coerced. Another critical component of persuasion is consistency. People are more likely to be persuaded by someone who is consistent in their message and actions. If you say one thing and do another, your words lose credibility. Consistency builds trust and makes your arguments more persuasive because it shows that you're not just saying things to win a conversation, you're living those principles. Finally, emotional appeal is a powerful persuasion tool. People often make decisions based on how they feel, not just on logic. By understanding the emotions that drive people, fear, excitement, joy, security, you can craft a message that resonates with them on a deeper level. Emotionally charged messages are more likely to be remembered and acted upon. To summarize, persuasion is about understanding the other person's needs, framing your message in a way that speaks to those needs, and delivering it with confidence, empathy, and consistency. It's not about manipulation, it's about creating a win-win situation for everyone involved. When you use persuasion ethically, you not only achieve your goals, but also build stronger, more positive relationships with those around you. Chapter 6. The Importance of Clarity. How to speak so people understand. Have you ever been in a conversation where the message got lost? Where you said one thing, but the person you were speaking to heard something completely different? It happens more often than you think, and the reason is usually a lack of clarity. Clear communication is one of the most important skills you can develop. Without clarity, your message will be misunderstood, ignored, or misinterpreted. But with it, you can deliver your ideas, intentions, and requests in a way that's precise, impactful, and actionable. The first step to speaking with clarity is knowing exactly what you want to say. This might sound obvious, but so many conversations are vague, unfocused, or driven by emotion rather than clear thought. Before you speak, take a moment to organize your thoughts. What is your main point? What do you want the other person to understand or do? What's the most important thing you need them to take away from the conversation? When you speak with clarity, every word counts. Avoid filler words like, like, or you know, which can distract from your message. Instead, be intentional with your words. Make each sentence purposeful, and make sure your language directly supports your point. Speak with confidence, knowing exactly what you're saying and why. It's also important to simplify your message. Too often we try to sound sophisticated or overly intellectual, using complex language or jargon, but that can alienate your audience. The simpler and more direct your message, the easier it will be for others to grasp and act upon. Don't overcomplicate things. Focus on getting your core message across in the clearest way possible. If you're explaining something complex, break it down into smaller, digestible pieces. Use examples or analogies to make your point easier to understand. Body language plays a significant role in clarity. 2. If your body language is inconsistent with your words, it confuses your listener. For example, if you're saying something positive but your body is closed off, arms crossed, tense posture, your words will lose their impact. On the other hand, if your body language aligns with your message, open, engaged, and confident, your message becomes more powerful. So make sure your nonverbal cues are reinforcing the clarity of your words. Tone of voice also affects how clearly your message is received. A monotone voice can make even the most interesting content sound dull, while a varied tone can help emphasize key points and keep your audience engaged. Adjust your tone to match the message you want to convey. For example, if you're speaking about something serious, your tone should reflect that, with a calm and controlled voice. If you're excited about something, let your tone reflect that energy and enthusiasm. Another important aspect of clarity is avoiding assumptions. Never assume the other person knows what you're talking about or understands the context. Always clarify, especially when discussing complex or unfamiliar topics. Ask questions to ensure that the person you're communicating with is on the same page. Do you understand, or is this clear so far? Are simple but effective ways to gauge understanding. Lastly, be mindful of your audience. The clarity of your communication will depend on who you're speaking to. Are they familiar with the subject? Are they interested in the topic? Tailor your message to meet the level of understanding of your listener. If you're talking to someone who's new to the subject, keep things simple. If they're an expert, you can dive deeper into specifics. The key is to adapt your message so it resonates with your audience. The power of clear communication lies in its ability to eliminate misunderstandings, foster trust, and encourage action. When people understand your message, they are more likely to act on it, whether that means agreeing with your point of view, following through on a request, or making a decision. So, the next time you speak, focus on clarity. Organize your thoughts. Simplify your message. Align your body language and tone with your words. Avoid assumptions and always make sure your message resonates with your audience. When you communicate with clarity, you unlock the full potential of your message and your ability to connect with others. Chapter 7. The Power of Questions. How to spark insightful conversations. Communication isn't just about talking, it's about asking the right questions. Questions are the tools that open the door to deeper understanding, exploration, and connection. They guide the conversation, spark curiosity, and reveal insights that would otherwise remain hidden. The art of asking good questions can transform your conversations, turning them from surface-level exchanges into meaningful discussions that lead to growth, collaboration, and real breakthroughs. The first step in mastering the art of questioning is to move away from yes-no questions. These types of questions shut down a conversation rather than opening it up. Instead, focus on open-ended questions that invite more thoughtful, expansive answers. For example, instead of asking, "Did you have a good day?" try asking, "What was the highlight of your day?" This not only encourages a more detailed response, but also shows the other person that you're genuinely interested in their experience. Asking the right questions isn't just about seeking information, it's about making the other person feel valued. When you ask thoughtful, open-ended questions, you're signaling that you care about their perspective, that you're engaged in the conversation, and that you're eager to learn from them. This fosters trust and connection, which is key to any meaningful relationship, whether personal or professional. The power of questions also lies in their ability to steer the conversation in a productive direction. If a conversation starts to go off track, a well-placed question can bring it back to focus. For instance, if you're discussing a challenging issue and the conversation starts to become heated, instead of jumping in with your opinion, you can ask, "What do you think would be a good solution?" This not only redirects the conversation, but also encourages collaboration and problem solving. Additionally, good questions promote critical thinking. They challenge assumptions and encourage the person you're speaking with to think more deeply. For example, instead of agreeing with someone's opinion right away, you might ask, "What makes you think that?" Or, "How did you come to that conclusion?" These questions prompt reflection and create a space for more thoughtful, meaningful responses. Another powerful technique in questioning is the follow-up question. When you ask a question and receive an answer, don't stop there. Ask more questions to dig deeper. A simple "Tell me more about that," or "What do you mean by that?" can uncover layers of understanding that weren't immediately obvious. Follow-up questions show that you're actively listening, that you're paying attention to the details, and that you're invested in understanding the other person fully. There's also the reflective question, a question that mirrors the other person's words back to them to promote deeper insight. For example, if someone says, "I feel overwhelmed with work," you might ask, "What is it that's making you feel overwhelmed?" This not only shows empathy but also helps the person clarify their thoughts, which can lead to better problem solving. Effective questioning also allows you to gather information, assess situations, and build rapport. In professional settings, asking the right questions can help you uncover needs, preferences, or pain points that lead to better solutions and stronger collaborations. In personal conversations, thoughtful questions help you understand the other person's values, motivations, and emotions, strengthening your bond and deepening your relationship. Asking the right questions doesn't just benefit the person you're speaking with, it benefits you as well. When you ask questions with genuine curiosity, you open yourself up to learning, you gain new perspectives, you challenge your own beliefs, you become more informed, more empathetic, and more open-minded. Finally, don't underestimate the power of the question pause. After asking a question, give the other person time to think. Don't rush them to answer. Often, the best responses come after a few seconds of quiet reflection. This shows respect for their thoughts and gives them the space they need to provide a meaningful answer. In summary, asking insightful questions is one of the most powerful tools in communication. It opens the door to deeper understanding, fosters connection, promotes critical thinking, and encourages collaboration. Whether in a personal or professional setting, the ability to ask the right questions will transform the way you communicate, making your conversations more meaningful, productive, and impactful. Chapter 8: The Power of Storytelling: How to Captivate and Influence. There's a reason why stories have been passed down through generations. Stories are powerful. They engage us, move us, and connect us in ways that facts and figures can't. The art of storytelling is one of the most effective communication tools because it taps into the emotional human side of us. It's not just about what you say, but how you say it. And when you learn to craft your messages into stories, you'll find that your words have more impact, your ideas are more persuasive, and your conversations become more memorable. Why storytelling matters. At its core, storytelling is about connection. It's about taking the listener on a journey, making them feel what you feel, and leading them to a place where they not only understand your message, but remember it. A great story taps into universal themes, love, fear, struggle, triumph, that resonate with people on a deep, emotional level. And when you can make someone feel your message, they're far more likely to act on it or remember it. Think about your favorite leaders, speakers, or influencers. Chances are they don't just give dry speeches or deliver information. They weave stories into their messages. They use anecdotes, metaphors, and narratives that draw you in, make you care, and motivate you to take action. Whether they're telling a personal story, using a fable, or sharing an example, they know that storytelling is the key to creating a lasting impact. The structure of a good story. To tell a powerful story, you don't need to be a novelist or have a dramatic plot. What you need is structure. A good story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. It introduces a problem or challenge, explores the struggle, and ultimately leads to a resolution or lesson learned. Here's a simple structure to follow. The hook. Every great story begins with something that grabs attention. It could be an intriguing question, a surprising fact, or a powerful statement. The hook draws people in, sparking their curiosity. You want your audience to think, "I need to hear more." The conflict. Every story needs a challenge. This is where you introduce the problem, the struggle, or the obstacle. The conflict is what creates tension and keeps your audience engaged. Without it, your story will fall flat. It's in the conflict that your audience becomes invested. The resolution. This is where you show how the problem is solved or how the challenge is overcome. The resolution doesn't have to be dramatic, but it should provide clarity, growth, or insight. It's the moment of change or transformation. The lesson. The best stories always leave us with something. Whether it's a moral, a lesson learned, or a takeaway message, this is what gives your story meaning. It's what makes your audience reflect and think about how the story applies to their own lives. Storytelling in conversations. You don't need a big stage or a microphone to tell a story. In everyday conversations, storytelling is one of the best ways to engage, persuade, and connect. Think about how you can weave a story into your message. When you tell stories, you make your points more relatable and memorable. For example, if you're trying to persuade someone to adopt a new habit or change a behavior, instead of listing facts, tell a story about how this habit changed someone's life. This draws people in emotionally and makes them more likely to consider your perspective. Or, if you're trying to explain a complex idea, break it down with a story that shows how it works in real life. Stories make abstract concepts concrete and help people see the value in your message. Using metaphors and analogies. One of the most powerful tools in storytelling is the use of metaphors and analogies. These are creative ways to help people understand difficult concepts by comparing them to something familiar. For example, if you're talking about the importance of consistency, you might say, consistency is like watering a plant. You might not see it grow every day, but over time it will flourish. This simple analogy helps people grasp the idea without getting bogged down in details. Emotional connection. A good story doesn't just inform, it makes people feel something. Whether it's joy, sadness, excitement, or even fear, emotions are what make stories stick. Think about the last time a story moved you. Chances are it wasn't just the facts that resonated, but the emotional journey it took you on. Emotions are what drive action, and great storytellers know how to tap into them. When you speak, think about what emotions you want to evoke. Do you want to inspire, to motivate, to entertain, to teach? Whatever it is, tailor your story to create that emotional response. It's the emotional connection that will make your audience care about your message, remember it, and take action on it. Practical tips for effective storytelling. Be authentic. Your stories should be true to your experience. The more authentic and genuine they are, the more your audience will connect with them. People can tell when you're telling a story just for the sake of making a point, versus when you're sharing something that truly matters to you. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate your story. Keep it straightforward and focused on the main message you want to convey. Avoid unnecessary details that can distract from the core of the story. Use vivid imagery. The best stories paint a picture in the listener's mind. Use descriptive language that helps the audience visualize the scene. This adds depth and makes the story more engaging. Engage your audience. Ask questions, invite feedback, or create moments where your audience can relate. When you engage your listeners, they feel involved in the story, and that connection makes the message more powerful. Practice. Like any skill, storytelling improves with practice. Don't be afraid to try out new stories in different situations. Pay attention to how your audience responds and adjust your approach as needed. Chapter 9. The role of emotion in communication. Connecting on a deeper level. Every conversation you have, whether it's with a friend, a colleague, or a stranger, is an opportunity to create an emotional connection. And when you connect with someone emotionally, you don't just communicate with words, you reach their heart. Emotion is the bridge between ideas and action. It's the secret ingredient that makes your message memorable, powerful, and motivating. People don't always remember facts, figures, or the exact words you say. What they remember is how you made them feel. That's why emotional intelligence is such a crucial aspect of communication. It allows you to connect with others, understand their emotions, and respond in a way that resonates with them on a deeper level. The power of emotional appeal. When you speak with emotion, your words carry more weight. You move beyond the surface-level exchange and tap into something more profound. Emotion gives your message impact. It makes your audience feel what you're saying. Think about the most persuasive speakers or leaders in history. They didn't just present dry facts. They used emotion to rally, inspire, and motivate people. The good news: you don't need to be a charismatic public speaker to use emotion effectively in your own communication. Emotional connection starts with empathy and understanding. It starts with being present in the moment and paying attention to how the other person feels. When you recognize their emotional state, you can communicate in a way that speaks directly to their heart, not just their mind. Emotional intelligence, understanding your own emotions. Before you can connect with others emotionally, you need to understand your own emotions. This is where emotional intelligence, EQ, comes in. EQ is the ability to recognize, understand, and manage your own emotions, as well as the emotions of others. When you have high emotional intelligence, you're better equipped to navigate conversations, resolve conflicts, and build stronger relationships. Emotional awareness starts with self-reflection. Before speaking, check in with yourself. How are you feeling? Are you angry, frustrated, excited, or calm? Recognizing your own emotions can help you adjust your tone, message, and delivery to ensure that you're communicating in the best way possible. If you're upset, for example, it may not be the right time to have a difficult conversation. Instead, give yourself time to cool down so you can express yourself clearly and without added emotion that might cloud the message. Reading other people's emotions. Emotional intelligence also means being able to read the emotions of others. People communicate more through their emotions than they realize, and their body language often reveals how they're feeling. A frown, a sigh, crossed arms. These are all subtle cues that show how someone is reacting to the conversation. When you pick up on these cues, you can adjust your communication style to better align with their emotional state. For example, if someone seems anxious or upset, you might soften your tone or ask open-ended questions to allow them to express their feelings. If someone is excited, you can match their energy and enthusiasm, creating a more engaging conversation. Being emotionally aware also means responding with empathy. If someone is sharing something vulnerable or challenging, don't rush to give advice or solutions. Instead, validate their emotions by saying something like, "I can see why that would be tough," or "It sounds like you've been through a lot." This shows them that you understand and care about what they're experiencing, which creates a deeper emotional connection. Emotional communication in persuasion. When you use emotion strategically, It can make your persuasive communication even more effective. People make decisions based on how they feel, not just what they think. Emotional appeals are often more powerful than logical ones, especially when they tap into universal feelings like fear, hope, love, or desire. For example, if you're trying to persuade someone to take action, you might appeal to their fear of missing out, FOMO, or their desire for improvement. You can use stories that elicit emotions, stories of struggle and triumph, of overcoming obstacles, or of success achieved through persistence. These emotional stories make your message resonate more deeply because they connect with the listener's own experiences and aspirations. However, emotional appeals must be genuine. Manipulating emotions for personal gain or using them inauthentically will quickly backfire. People can tell when they're being manipulated, and it undermines trust. Use emotion with integrity, and make sure that your emotional appeal aligns with the message you're trying to communicate. Balancing logic and emotion. While emotion is a powerful tool, it's essential to balance it with logic. Too much emotion can cloud the clarity of your message, while too much logic can make your communication feel dry and disconnected. The most effective communicators know how to blend both, using emotional appeal to draw in their audience and logic to support and solidify their point. For example, in a business presentation, you might start with an emotional story or a compelling statistic that taps into the audience's emotions, then follow up with logical arguments and evidence that back up your message. This combination keeps the audience engaged while also providing them with the practical information they need to make an informed decision. Chapter 10. The Power of Feedback. How to give and receive constructive criticism. Feedback is one of the most valuable tools in communication, but it can also be one of the most difficult to navigate. Whether you're giving or receiving it, the way feedback is delivered and how it's received can make or break a conversation, a relationship, or even a project. Giving feedback is not about pointing out flaws or giving unsolicited advice. It's about helping someone improve, grow, and achieve their full potential. And receiving feedback is not about defending yourself or feeling criticized. It's about listening with an open mind and using the feedback as an opportunity for self-reflection and growth. The art of giving constructive feedback. When giving feedback, the goal is always to be constructive, not critical. The difference lies in your tone, approach, and focus. Constructive feedback is about offering insights in a way that's supportive and encouraging, rather than discouraging. It's about pointing out areas for improvement while also acknowledging the things that are working well. The sandwich method is a useful technique for giving feedback. This method involves starting with something positive, then moving on to the constructive feedback, and finally ending with something positive. The idea is to create balance, making sure the person feels acknowledged and appreciated while also being guided toward improvement. For example, positive: you did a great job on the presentation and your data analysis was really impressive. Constructive: one area that could be improved is the pacing. The audience seemed to lose focus toward the end. Maybe adding some interactive elements could help keep them engaged. Positive: overall, you did an excellent job, and I know with just a little tweaking, the next presentation will be even better. This method softens the impact of constructive feedback and ensures that the recipient doesn't feel solely criticized. It helps maintain their confidence and encourages them to take the feedback in stride. Be specific and actionable. When giving feedback, it's crucial to be specific. Vague or generalized feedback doesn't provide the recipient with anything they can act on. Instead of saying you need to be better at communicating, say, in this meeting you could have clarified your main point earlier to make your message clearer. By being specific, you offer concrete examples that the person can learn from and improve on. Actionable feedback is also essential. Pointing out something that needs to change is only half of the process. You also need to provide practical steps or suggestions for improvement. This makes the feedback valuable because it equips the person with tools to make a change. Empathy in giving feedback. Empathy is key when giving feedback. Recognize that feedback can be difficult for the recipient to hear, especially if it's something they've worked hard on or something they feel personally invested in. Approach the conversation with care and consideration. Understand that the person may need time to process what you're saying. Be patient and offer support as they work through the feedback. It's also important to frame the feedback in a way that shows you have their best interests at heart. Feedback is not about finding faults, it's about helping them grow. Let them know that your goal is to see them succeed, and that's why you're offering the feedback. This makes it more likely they'll receive it well and take it constructively. Receiving feedback with an open mind. On the flip side, receiving feedback is just as important as giving it. How you respond to feedback can greatly affect your personal growth and your relationship with the person offering it. Often, our first instinct is to defend ourselves or justify our actions, but the best way to receive feedback is with an open mind and a willingness to learn. The key to receiving feedback is listening without reacting. Don't interrupt or dismiss the feedback right away. Take a moment to fully absorb what's being said. If the feedback is difficult to hear, try not to take it personally. Remember, it's not an attack on you as a person. It's about helping you improve your work, behavior, or approach. It's also important to ask clarifying questions if you're unsure about something. For example, you could say, "Can you explain a bit more about how I can improve in that area?" This shows that you're genuinely interested in understanding the feedback and making improvements. When you receive feedback, especially if it's negative, express gratitude. Thank the person for taking the time to offer their thoughts. A simple, "I appreciate your feedback, I'll work on that," shows maturity and professionalism. It also helps maintain a positive, constructive relationship going forward, turning feedback into growth. The real power of feedback comes from how you use it. Don't just listen to feedback and then forget about it. Use it as a tool for growth. Take the constructive criticism you receive, reflect on it, and put it into action. This is what separates those who grow from those who stagnate. When you actively seek feedback and use it to improve, you show a commitment to continuous learning and self-improvement. It's important to remember that feedback is not a one-time event. It's an ongoing process. If you want to improve, make feedback a regular part of your life. Ask for it, seek it out, and, most importantly, act on it. Over time, you'll see a noticeable improvement in your communication skills, work habits, and relationships. Chapter 11. The Art of Negotiation. How to influence outcomes without conflict. Negotiation isn't just for business deals or legal contracts. It's an essential part of every communication. Whether you're trying to get a better deal on something, persuade someone to see your point of view, or find common ground in a disagreement, negotiation plays a role in nearly every conversation. The key to effective negotiation is not about winning or forcing the other person to give in to your demands. It's about finding a solution that benefits both parties, creating a win-win situation. To do that, you must approach negotiation with the mindset of collaboration, not competition. When both sides feel like they've been heard and respected, negotiations lead to stronger relationships and better outcomes. Start with empathy. Before you enter any negotiation, put yourself in the other person's shoes. What do they want? What are their goals? What concerns or limitations do they have? When you take the time to understand the other party's perspective, you're in a better position to find common ground and propose solutions that work for both sides. Empathy in negotiation isn't about agreeing with everything the other person says. It's about acknowledging their position and respecting their needs. This creates a collaborative atmosphere where both parties feel valued, making it easier to reach a mutually beneficial solution. Know your desired outcome and your limits. Before entering any negotiation, it's crucial to know what you want and what you're willing to compromise on. What's your ideal outcome? What are your non-negotiables? Knowing these things ahead of time helps you stay focused during the negotiation and ensures you don't make unnecessary concessions. But don't stop there. Be sure to understand your partner, Best alternative to a negotiated agreement. What happens if you don't reach an agreement? What's your backup plan? Having this knowledge gives you confidence and a clear understanding of when to walk away. It's important to be prepared to stand firm on certain issues and know when to be flexible on others. Create a connection, not a conflict. Negotiations can often become adversarial. Two parties trying to outsmart or outmaneuver each other. But when you approach negotiation as an opportunity to collaborate, it changes the dynamic entirely. Focus on building a connection rather than creating a conflict. The best negotiators are those who can communicate clearly, express their needs without aggression, and engage in the process as a team effort. To build this connection, use positive language that emphasizes cooperation. Phrases like, "How can we find a solution that works for both of us?" or "I understand where you're coming from, and I think we can come up with something that satisfies us both," go a long way in keeping the tone collaborative rather than combative. Listen more than you speak. In any negotiation, the most important skill isn't speaking, it's listening. The more you listen, the more you learn about the other person's needs, desires, and limitations. Listening carefully allows you to tailor your responses and solutions to meet their concerns, which increases the likelihood of reaching an agreement that works for everyone. In addition to listening to their words, pay attention to non-verbal cues, body language, tone of voice, facial expressions. These can give you insight into how they're truly feeling about the discussion. Sometimes people say one thing, but their body language tells you something different. Picking up on these signals helps you adjust your approach and communicate more effectively. Find common ground. The key to any successful negotiation is finding common ground. Look for areas where both parties can agree, and start there. Establishing shared goals helps create a sense of teamwork, making it easier to find solutions that are acceptable to everyone involved. For example, if you're negotiating a salary increase, rather than immediately diving into the numbers, start by discussing your value to the company and how your contributions align with their objectives. From there, you can begin to work together to find a figure that acknowledges both your contributions and the company's budget. When you identify common goals early in the conversation, you create a foundation of trust and collaboration, which makes it much easier to negotiate the more difficult aspects. Be prepared to make concessions. Negotiation is rarely about getting everything you want. It's about finding a balance between what you need and what the other person needs. Be prepared to make concessions, but do so strategically. Understand which areas you can compromise on and which ones are non-negotiable for you. When you make a concession, frame it in a way that adds value to the other person. For example, "I understand that my initial offer was above your budget, but I'm willing to adjust my price in exchange for something that benefits you." This makes the other person feel like they're gaining something, even while you're making a concession. Don't rush the process. Good negotiations take time. Don't rush the process in an attempt to reach a quick agreement. Take the time to explore options, weigh different possibilities, and work through any issues that arise. Rushing can lead to overlooking important details or making hasty decisions that you later regret. Patience in negotiation allows both sides to feel like their needs are being considered and gives the negotiation the time it needs to develop a fair and sustainable solution. This is how trust is built, not through speed, but through careful, thoughtful communication. Know when to walk away. Finally, know when it's time to walk away. Sometimes, despite your best efforts, a negotiation just isn't going to work. If the terms are not acceptable to you and there's no middle ground, don't be afraid to walk away. Having the strength to say no when the deal doesn't meet your needs is a critical part of negotiation. It's better to walk away from a bad deal than to accept terms that you're uncomfortable with. When you walk away, do so respectfully. Leave the door open for future negotiations and maintain a professional, positive relationship. In some cases, the other party may come back with a better offer once they realize you're serious about your terms. Conclusion. The power of collaborative negotiation. The best negotiators don't focus on winning, they focus on collaboration. They understand that the most successful negotiations are those in which both parties feel like they've gained something. By listening, empathizing, and being open to compromise, you can turn any negotiation into a mutually beneficial outcome. Mastering the art of negotiation is one of the most powerful communication skills you can develop. It builds trust, fosters cooperation, and strengthens relationships, both personally and professionally. The more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. So, the next time you find yourself in a negotiation, remember, it's not about winning, it's about finding the solution that works for everyone. Chapter 12. The Impact of Tone. How the right voice can transform your message. The tone of your voice can make or break the message you're trying to convey. It's not just about what you say, it's how you say it. Tone influences how people interpret your words, how they feel in the conversation, and whether they feel understood or dismissed. A slight change in tone can turn a simple statement into a powerful affirmation or make a positive message seem cold and unapproachable. The power of tone lies in its ability to influence emotions. Think about a time when someone said something kind, but their tone didn't match their words. Perhaps they said, "I'm happy for you," but their tone was flat or disinterested. How did that make you feel? It likely made you question the sincerity of the statement, didn't it? On the flip side, imagine someone saying, "I'm happy for you," with warmth in their voice, a smile in their words, and genuine enthusiasm. The same words, but a completely different impact. That's the power of tone. It's the emotional undercurrent that shapes the way your message is received. Understanding the different tones. Tone can be categorized in many ways, each one serving a different purpose in communication. Some of the most common tones include warm and empathetic. This tone is used when you want to convey kindness, understanding, and care. It's often used in difficult or emotionally charged conversations, where the other person needs to feel supported. A warm tone builds trust and fosters connection. It's the tone of active listening, where you acknowledge the other person's feelings and provide reassurance. Confident and assertive. A confident tone is one that conveys authority without aggression. It's the tone of someone who knows their worth, believes in their message, and is comfortable expressing their thoughts clearly and without hesitation. This tone is powerful in professional settings or situations where you need to assert your position, but it's crucial to avoid sounding domineering or condescending. Calm and reassuring. When you need to ease tension or calm a situation, a calm tone works wonders. Whether you're addressing a stressful situation or simply offering comfort, a soft, steady voice can make the other person feel heard and at ease. This tone is particularly effective when navigating conflicts or addressing concerns, as it helps diffuse anxiety and foster a sense of safety. Friendly and approachable. A light, friendly tone helps create rapport and make you more approachable. It's the tone of someone who wants to connect, who is inviting others into the conversation. When your tone is open and warm, people are more likely to engage with you, share their thoughts, and feel comfortable around you. Enthusiastic and inspiring. An enthusiastic tone is full of energy and passion. It's the tone that excites and motivates others, inspiring them to take action.
Whether you're presenting an idea, delivering a speech, or simply having an upbeat conversation, enthusiasm in your voice can spark excitement and encourage positive responses from your listeners.
Serious and direct. There are times when you need to communicate clearly, without distraction or fluff. A serious tone is straightforward, purposeful, and to the point. This tone is essential in professional settings, negotiations, or when delivering important information that requires attention and toast. How to adjust your tone to fit the situation. Now that you understand the different types of tone, it's essential to know how to adjust your tone to fit the context of your conversation. Here are a few tips for mastering tone in communication. Match your tone to the situation. Your tone should match the context of the conversation. For example, if you're discussing a sensitive topic or providing feedback, you'll want to use a warm, empathetic tone. On the other hand, if you're leading a meeting or making a strong point, a confident tone would be more effective. Be mindful of your audience. Consider the person or people you're speaking to and tailor your tone to meet their emotional state and communication style. For example, if you're speaking with someone who is upset, use a calm and reassuring tone to provide comfort. If you're talking to a team member who is energized and excited, mirror their enthusiasm with an upbeat tone. Monitor your pace and volume. Tone isn't just about how your voice sounds, it's also about the pace and volume at which you speak. Speaking too quickly or too loudly can make you seem anxious, defensive, or unapproachable. Speak at a pace that allows the other person to absorb your words and adjust the volume to suit the situation. Speaking too softly can make you seem uncertain, while speaking too loudly can come across as aggressive. Pause for effect. Sometimes, it's not about what you say, but the silence between your words. Pauses allow your tone to land and give the listener time to reflect on what's been said. A well-timed pause can add weight to your message, especially when you're making an important point. Use your tone to reinforce your message. Your tone should support and amplify the message you're trying to convey. If you're delivering good news, let your tone reflect your enthusiasm. If you're addressing a problem, use a calm and direct tone to maintain clarity and control. The impact of tone in persuasion. When it comes to persuasion, tone is one of the most powerful tools at your disposal. A persuasive message is not just about the content, it's about how you deliver it. A confident, calm, or enthusiastic tone can make your message more compelling and convincing, while a defensive or passive tone can diminish its impact. Tone can also help you gain trust. If your tone is sincere and empathetic, the other person is more likely to believe in your message and feel comfortable with your suggestions. By adjusting your tone to fit the situation, you not only make your message clearer, but also increase its ability to influence others. Conclusion: tone is the silent power behind your words. Your tone has the ability to elevate your communication to a whole new level. It's the invisible force that gives life to your words, that creates connection, builds trust, and influences decisions. When you master the power of tone, you don't just communicate, you connect on a deeper level. So, the next time you speak, remember that your tone can either make or break your message. Pay attention to how you speak, and use your tone intentionally to enhance your communication and strengthen your relationships.